Oh,
by.
yeah.
I never went, but that's wonderful.
Yeah, you have to come back. Well, Michael, I'm so happy finally to get to see Johnny Dangerously because I can remember when they said, yeah, it's going to come out at Easter, and then they said it's going to come out in the fall, and I'm saying, where is Johnny Dangerously? But it's here, and it was worth waiting for.
Thank you. I was asking a lot of the same questions of Fox myself, because each month they used to come to me and say, let me tell you why this next release month is going to be a better month. And it turns out they had a very little blanket on a big bed. They had 3 or 4 pictures in 12 months. So it was like a Chinese fire drill, what picture would go in what month. And they finally, after we were supposed to come out in August, as a summer picture, convinced us it's going to be a terrific Christmas picture. And so now it's Christmas, and here we are.
Yes, a nice little present you've given us. You changed the ending, though, from what it was going to be originally. Now, did Fox want you to do that, or did you all decide?
The kids wanted us to do it. It seemed, after our first few screenings, that they liked Michael Keaton so much in it, they didn't want to see him die in the picture, as in those gangster movies, the hero always died. And we had a dying scene that went on for like 8 minutes of comedy, where he just died for 8 minutes. And I mean, it was very, very funny. But it just seemed a sense that they weren't satisfied with it, so we changed it.
Did that disappoint you and Michael?
Well, no, I don't think you can be disappointed, because what we went after, we think we realized, because people sat there and they're laughing and laughing and laughing, and then it turns up and we asked them, how they felt about it. They didn't really like it, even though they were laughing. So I would think, in a way, for Michael, it should be quite the opposite of being disappointed. I mean, they really care about him and his character so much that they just didn't want, even though they laughed at it, they didn't want to see him die.
This is Joe Piscopo's first movie. Was he kind of nervous about it?
I don't know. I think he was a little bit nervous about this role. Is this the first thing he should be seen in? But I think you can probably get that more precisely from Joe. But once he arrived and he got into it, and quite the opposite. I mean, he's totally confident and the ultimate professional, and really fine in the picture.
Is it true that originally Sylvester Stallone was considered for the role that Michael Keaton does?
No.
That they're putting out that story, Michael.
Maybe Stallone's putting it out.
Maybe so.
No, not to my knowledge. No, I mean, I would know. I mean, we had once contemplated Jack Nicholson, and at one time it was George Segal, and this picture has a 9-year history. It's I kid people and say when we started it wasn't a period picture. But Stallone was not involved. No, in fact, it might have been before he even started.
It would seem to me that one of the challenges of this movie, as the producer and then your director as well, is that you've got a period picture, a spoof, a send-up, but you have to make it appeal to a 1980s audience. So how did you set out to deal with that problem?
Well, first of all, with some of the irreverence that we use in the movie, I think youngsters really respond to that. I know I certainly did when I was a teenager in my 20s. It's certain irreverent feeling. There's a lot of the humor in this is irreverent, even though it's a period picture. Also, some of the humor is very modern. I don't think you've ever seen a prison picture where they're serving sushi. I mean, that's just not done. And there's also a lot of very modern references in it, and behavior as well, even though it's kind of stylized like those 30 movies were. Some of the language is very modern, some of the relationships are very modern, and I think you were in the audience last night and heard some of the youngsters. It still amazes me, though, in truth, that most of these youngsters have not seen these gangster movies, and they still seem to get the comedy that we're after in the movie.
It was different than when you did Blazing Saddles, wasn't it? That was or do you kind of see parallels between the two pictures?
Well, Blazing Saddles was 10 years ago. I mean, when it came on the scene, it was like this new thing that people hadn't seen before. I mean, in terms of its irreverence, its language, it's just what it attempted to do. There have been other spoofs and parodies in the last 10 years of many different subjects, Airplane being, I think, the most recent one. So that surprise element was gone. I think it's more difficult now to do an original spoof or send-up, because most of the audience has seen a lot of spoofs. Now they also happen to like spoofs. And if you can tickle them, if you can just get them at the beginning so they get what you're doing, they'll go with you.
What would you say for Joe Piscopo is his future in films, Michael?
Oh, Joe has a terrific future in films. He's multifaceted. He's totally dedicated, and I don't think in this movie it touched 50% of what he can really do. it shows the discipline that he also has, you know, to play a villain, which is, you know, kind of difficult, and play it in such a way that I mean, you really laugh at him a lot. Just his name alone, Danny Verman, you know, gives him a leg up.
What was the budget on this picture?
Picture was $10 million.
Which is about average.
It's a little below average. Today's around 12 and a half, and with a period piece, it's a little bit more.
Yeah. It must have been a great deal of fun getting all that stuff together and taking somebody like Maureen Stapleton and putting her in that funky role.
She was terrific. I mean, I think we assembled the biggest Irish cast since John Ford in this film, and she was the trooper. She had more energy than most people in it, and she just kind of led the charge from here to there, because Maureen doesn't like to sit. She likes to act and get on with it. And I mean, everybody had a certain reverence for her. I mean, we have a very young cast and new, and here's Maureen Stapleton, you know, among us, and she was wonderful to work with.
Well, she's wonderful in it
Yes,
too. It's quite a departure. Well, Michael, I hope the picture does really well for you. You tell me that it tested well in Dallas.
Yes, we had a wonderful sneak there.
And so I hope it does well for all of you. And again, I'll just thank you for a nice Christmas present.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
My pleasure.
Nice interview. Nice.
Oh, you're good. I mean, you
Yeah,
just
nice interview.
You're
Does he want to?
Just slide a little bit.
This way?
There.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on a hill, but I guess I won't slide down.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm
Either way you like.
I'm on the bias.
Imagine
No, I'll
a
stand.
shadow standing
I
there.
can manage, don't worry. So, Michael, we first thought it was going to be at Easter, and then it's going to be in the fall, and now here, finally at Christmas, we get to see Johnny Dangerously. So why all the postponements? This is Joe Piscopo's first film. Do you think he was nervous about it? It would seem that there's a terrific challenge here for a producer and a director and cast in that you have a period piece, 30s, and yet you have to make it appeal to an 80s audience. Was Stallone ever set for the Keaton role? What kind of a future do you see for Joe Piscopo in movies? People are going to be surprised when they see Maureen Stapleton in this, aren't they? Can you draw any comparison between this send-up and the send-up of Blazing Saddles? What was the budget on this picture? About average. Okay, now just reactions. Okay, let me give you one laugh because I think we had a laugh in there. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
stop
you.
marking.
Thank you.
You're really a professional. You really know it.
Yes, you really
You really did great.